Imagine a ship more than 500 feet long, carrying 306 people across the Atlantic. Then imagine it disappearing so completely that not one confirmed piece of wreckage was ever found. No distress call, no survivors, no final message. More than a century later, the ocean still refuses to tell us where the USS Cyclops went. The Cyclops was carrying hundreds of people when she vanished in 1918. Not one of them returned. Families waited for news. The Navy searched for answers. But there was nothing to recover. The ship, the crew, and her passengers had simply disappeared. The strangest part was the size of the Cyclops. She was enormous for her time. A ship that large should have left behind something. Wreckage, lifeboats, cargo, anything. But the Atlantic seemed to swallow the entire vessel. To understand the mystery, we have to go back to 1918. World War I was raging. The United States was sending ships, supplies, and men across dangerous waters. And the Cyclops had an important job to do. The USS Cyclops had originally been built as a collier. Her purpose was simple: carry enormous quantities of heavy material across the ocean. She was not designed to be elegant. She was designed to carry weight. And that would become important later. Commanding the ship was Captain George W. Worley. He had years of experience at sea. He understood the dangers of the ocean, but no amount of experience could prepare him for what was coming. During the war, Cyclops became part of America's enormous maritime operation. Her mission was to transport valuable cargo. Every successful voyage meant more supplies reaching where they were needed. This voyage was supposed to be another routine assignment. The Cyclops sailed toward Brazil. The ship moved through waters far from the American mainland. For the men aboard, the journey was still just another military transport mission. Nobody knew that they were slowly moving toward one of America's greatest maritime mysteries. Cyclops was carrying manganese ore. It was extremely heavy. The ship had thousands of tons of it aboard. To an ordinary passenger, it might have looked like nothing more than piles of dark material. But to a ship, that weight mattered. Manganese was strategically important during the war. It was used in industrial and military production. That made the Cyclops' cargo valuable. But carrying enormous quantities of dense ore also created potential dangers. The Cyclops continued through the Atlantic. The ship's massive hull pushed through the water. The crew worked. The cargo remained below deck. Everything appeared to be proceeding normally. For now, the ship eventually reached Salvador, Brazil. It was another stop during the journey. People came and went. Supplies were handled. The ship prepared for the next stage. Baltimore was still waiting. On February 22, 1918, Cyclops departed Salvador. She was now heading north. Her destination was Baltimore. The crew had every reason to believe they would eventually see America again. They never did. By the time Cyclops reached Barbados, there were 306 people aboard. Sailors, crew members, passengers. 306 lives were now moving together aboard one enormous ship. None of them knew they were approaching their final voyage. Cyclops reached Barbados on March 4th. The ship stopped briefly. This would become the last confirmed port where she was seen. After leaving Barbados, something changed. The trail simply ends. Cyclops departed Barbados. Her destination remained Baltimore. The Atlantic stretched ahead. The ship began moving north. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the last chapter of her story had already begun. Days passed. The Cyclops should have continued toward America. Her arrival was expected, but she never appeared. At first, nobody knew there was a problem. The ship was simply late. One day became several. The silence continued. No confirmed message arrived from the Cyclops. No explanation appeared. And slowly, concern began turning into fear. The Navy began asking the obvious question: where was the ship? The Cyclops was not a small vessel that could easily disappear from notice. She was huge. She carried hundreds of people. Yet she was nowhere to be found. Ships began searching the waters where Cyclops might have traveled. They looked across enormous stretches of ocean. But the search produced almost nothing. No confirmed wreckage, no lifeboats, no survivors. Think about what that means. A ship over 500 feet long had vanished. 306 people had vanished with it, and the sea had left almost no evidence. It was as though Cyclops had simply ceased to exist. World War I immediately created one terrifying possibility. A German U-boat. German submarines were operating across the Atlantic. Could one have attacked Cyclops? Could the entire ship have been sunk in secret? The theory was investigated. But no definitive evidence proved that a German submarine had attacked Cyclops. There was no confirmed enemy report explaining her disappearance. The theory remained. But it could not solve the mystery. Investigators had another clue. The Cyclops was carrying thousands of tons of manganese ore. The material was incredibly dense, and that raised an uncomfortable question. Could the cargo itself have contributed to the disaster? Imagine standing inside the Cyclops cargo hold. Around you are thousands of tons of heavy ore. Every wave moves the ship. Every change in balance affects the hull. If that cargo shifted unexpectedly, the consequences could be catastrophic. One possibility is that the cargo became unstable. If enough weight moved suddenly, the ship could have developed a dangerous list. A vessel can become difficult to control surprisingly quickly. But again, there is no definitive evidence proving this happened. There were also concerns about Cyclops' condition. The vessel was not operating under perfect circumstances. And after leaving Barbados, she reportedly had only one functioning engine. That could have made a dangerous situation even worse. A giant ship crossing the Atlantic with limited propulsion had fewer options. If the weather deteriorated, maneuvering could become difficult. If the ship developed mechanical trouble, the crew might have had very little time to respond. The Atlantic can be unforgiving. A calm sea can turn dangerous. Wind can rise. Waves can become enormous. And at night, there may be nothing but darkness in every direction. Imagine Cyclops caught in severe weather. The ship is overloaded. The cargo is extremely heavy. The engine is struggling. And suddenly something goes wrong. The crew may have had only minutes to react. One theory suggests a catastrophic structural failure. The combination of heavy cargo, rough seas, and the ship's condition could potentially have overwhelmed the vessel. If Cyclops broke apart suddenly, there may have been almost no time to launch lifeboats. And that might explain one of the most disturbing details. There was no confirmed distress call from Cyclops. If disaster struck suddenly, the crew may never have had a chance to send one. No survivor came drifting ashore. No lifeboat was confirmed. No member of the crew returned. 306 people disappeared together. The Atlantic covers an enormous area. If Cyclops sank in deep water, the wreck could have disappeared beneath thousands of feet of ocean. In 1918, finding it would have been almost impossible. Then came a disturbing coincidence. Cyclops had sister ships. Two of them would later disappear under similar mysterious circumstances. The Proteus vanished in 1941. Then the Nereus disappeared that same year. Both ships were also carrying heavy ore. That coincidence fueled speculation. Was there something dangerous about these ships? Was heavy cargo responsible? Or were these simply separate maritime tragedies? Nobody knows for certain. Eventually, Cyclops became connected to another famous mystery, the Bermuda Triangle. Stories about ships disappearing in that region transformed Cyclops into one of the area's most famous legends. There is no reliable evidence that anything supernatural happened. No mysterious force has ever been proven. The disappearance may have had a completely ordinary explanation, and perhaps that makes it even more frightening. Maybe the answer was mechanical. Maybe the cargo shifted. Maybe the ship broke apart. Maybe a storm overwhelmed her. Several ordinary possibilities exist, but none has been proven. While investigators searched the ocean, families waited for news. Imagine knowing someone you love is aboard a ship that has vanished. No phone call, no message, no body, only uncertainty. The families of the 306 people aboard Cyclops never received a confirmed explanation. There was no final location, no grave at sea that could be visited, just an unanswered question that lasted for generations. Eventually, the Navy had to accept the terrible reality. The Cyclops was lost. Everyone aboard was presumed dead. But declaring the ship lost was not the same as explaining why. The most important piece of evidence was still missing: the wreck itself. Without it, investigators could only speculate about what happened beneath the waves. Decades became generations. The world changed. Ships became more advanced. Ocean exploration became more sophisticated. But Cyclops remained missing. Modern technology has allowed researchers to explore parts of the deep ocean that were unreachable in 1918. Yet no confirmed discovery has finally solved the mystery. The Cyclops remains lost. Was she sunk by a German submarine? Was her enormous cargo responsible? Did mechanical problems contribute? Did a storm destroy her? Or was it a combination of several failures? We know where Cyclops was last confirmed. We know she carried 306 people. We know she was heading toward Baltimore, and we know she never arrived. Somewhere between Barbados and America, the trail disappears. No final photograph, no confirmed distress call, no survivor, no wreck, only an enormous, empty space on the map. Perhaps the Cyclops is still resting somewhere beneath the Atlantic. Her enormous hull may lie broken on the seafloor. Her cargo may still surround the wreck, and the final answer may be waiting in the darkness. More than a century later, the mystery remains. A 542-foot American ship sailed into the Atlantic carrying 306 people. She was never seen again. No confirmed wreckage, no survivors, no final explanation. So what happened to USS Cyclops? Did the ocean simply swallow her, or is the real story still waiting to be discovered?